Hi everyone, welcome to Conversations with Creatives during COVID. At this time, we know many people are doing it tough. Livelihoods changed in a matter of days, especially in the arts. The aim of this is to check in with fellow actors, filmmakers, crew and creatives to see how they've been coping with lockdown restrictions, to find out how they've been able to keep themselves active, and most importantly, to lend them a supportive ear. All right, welcome to Conversations with Creatives during COVID. Today, my guest is musician and composer Mark Sadka. G'day, Mark.
Hey, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So tell me, you've probably been coping a little bit differently during all this than the others I've asked, but how have you been coping during this time?
Look, man, I'm a composer. I was self-isolating before it became cool. In all seriousness, my job generally entails me being alone for very long periods of time, thinking up music for various productions. So for me, it's almost like another day at the office. The worst bit is, for me, I should say, is I lost a lot of work, like so many other people. The MSO fired everyone because I used to play with them. They couldn't afford to keep their musicians around during this time, unfortunately. Other major groups, Royal Melbourne Philharmonic, that had to shut down several things. I was scheduled to lead the second violins on an international tour with the Voices of St. Petersburg. They were hitting Sydney and then Russia, but that got shut down as well. And that's just the musician side of things. On the production side, I've got 3 or 4 major production companies that had contacted me, and everything's on hold or up in the air. Some of my bigger stuff, I'm lucky enough that those are still moving forward. So I'm currently in conversations with people in Sydney, people in the States, in the UK, and a bunch of other things. So in that regard, I know I'm blessed. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with all the music stuff, especially with the MSO and the Philharmonic, have you been given any notice whether that might come back if it's been postponed, fully cancelled or just postponed? Is there any notice on that?
So the concerts themselves that fall within the time frame have been fully cancelled. There's no way to recoup those. It's different per each orchestra. The MSO has been given funding from the government to hire a lot of its musicians back, to my knowledge. That being said, this only applied to their full-time musicians, which is maybe a third to a half, roughly. I mean, I'm not exactly sure, of the orchestra. So you've got a lot of casual members who were getting regular work from them that all of a sudden, what are they going to do? Royal Melbourne Philharmonic, that's pretty much been, that's been hit really hard. I don't know if they'll be able to recoup their losses, to be honest. A single concert that got cancelled from them ended up costing the orchestra like $3 million.
Wow.
So, it's like, yeah, fun times.
Yeah, I guess this is that stuff we don't hear about too often, is the actual cost of all these cancellations and postponements, how much actually it has cost people.
Oh yeah, a very, very large amount. I mean, you have the MSO full-time members. They're, depending on their position, like $90,000 to $100,000 a year plus, and now all of a sudden their work is gone for a month, 2 months, 3 months. What are they going to do? That's a huge chunk of money, and that's just to pay their players. That's not even for the people who have already purchased tickets for an MSO concert that now need to get refunded, cancellation of hiring out a hall like Hamer Hall or the State Theatre, which is $30,000 a day just to It's ridiculous. It's very heavy stuff. So
I guess also then with the production stuff, have you received any further notice on those?
again, non-disclosure agreements, so
Yeah.
I can only say so much. There's a Netflix TV series that I know is most likely going ahead. I've been in uh, constant, constant contact with them. There we go. And yeah, I've received a contract, and that's hopefully still moving forward at this time. They're still in pre-production, so actual shooting is not, thankfully, not an issue at the moment. There was another feature film that I've made some music for, and that's going straight over to Rat Pack in LA. Comedy. Of course, God is Italian, because that answers a lot of questions about COVID, to be honest. But yeah, no, that the guys that made that, they just, between you and me, they broke every law and met and still shot the damn thing anyway. So
Oh dear.
so yeah, it's, you got to be a little bit of an asshole to get through these times, I think, and that's the large predominance of what that crew told me. And they're professionals too. These aren't like, your run of the mill first timers. They know their shit. And so the fact that they're all like, nah, we're gonna do this anyway, it was fun to be on set. Let's put it that way. So
right, I don't think we'll talk a bit too much more about that. Don't want to name anyone there, I guess. Like you said, you're pretty much used to like the situation you're in now, more so like the isolation. But have you been doing anything differently during this time, like keeping yourself active mentally and physically?
Well, no, because I was having to do that before all of this started, because you can only take so much isolation before things go a little bit crazy up there. The biggest change has been that my primary income has now become my teaching music, and that's largely being done online sessions like this one, temporarily. Otherwise, people come over, got a studio here, but hopefully those days are not too far off.
Yeah.
And then I've, picked up a few hobbies. I've actually tried to teach myself how to cook, which the kitchen has not been burned down yet, so there's something.
That's good. Yeah,
that's
very
step
good.
one. That's step one. Yes. What else? Reading, and of course, lots of music making. Actually playing my instruments and writing down what I hope is some pretty cool stuff. And then I've actually started just going out and getting some sun, and I wasn't doing that before. Yeah, you get an appreciation for being able to actually leave the house and go for a walk. We've got a lovely park, about 2-minute walk from mine. So I go there every day, go up the hill and come back down, and that's my exercise for the day. And I can tell myself, yay, I can eat more musk sticks. So,
That's good that you've still been able to do that, yeah. Have you been able to check in on like others, like especially with your, so I know like I'm definitely trying to contact people within the acting and filmmaking community. Have you been able to do that within the music community?
Yeah, a very large number of us are in multiple massive group chats that were set up very early on. The MSO's got a massive group chat with almost everyone that's part of the orchestra, and you can just message anyone at any time. Be like, I'm in a really, and this has happened, and the sport has been really amazing to see that people have just gone, I'm in a really dark place. I really need someone to talk to, and instantly you've got 4 or 5 people saying, talk to me. Let's just have a conversation. film wise and that, I've stayed in contact with a few people. I mean, I've kept in touch with you, for example.
Yep.
And one of the best things about it is, look, I'm a nerd, and I'm proud of it. And Dungeons and Dragons has really taken off. Let's put it that way. And yeah, I went from struggling to find players or dungeon masters to being part of 4 or 5 games
Oh
on a
wow.
nightly basis.
I'm still trying to be able to do that as well.
Oh, there's an amazing group. I can get you an invite if you want.
Oh, that'd be good, yeah.
Amazing Facebook group. Yeah, do that. So
That's great. I guess you probably answered my next question already. Like the hardest aspect for you, I guess that would be like your major source of income's just been decimated, hasn't it?
yeah, basically. And it came at a really inopportune time, because I've got a studio out here, and you've been there, so you should know. And we have made some extraordinary purchases. We got a big ass TV, which is really, really good. And we just bought 2 keyboards as well. And so when you've made purchases on software and hardware that's, $10,000 plus, and all of a sudden all your income is gone, and you're just like, okay, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So the only reason we aren't in debt or having to give it back is because we saved up enough money to actually buy it before we, put ourselves in debt, which
That's good.
Yeah. Otherwise we'd be in a lot of trouble. So
yeah, that's very fortunate for you. Yeah. In what way do you want to be able to come out of all this, like this whole situation?
Well, for me personally, I'm already coming out of it better, because the people I've met in groups like Dungeons and Dragons, or the conversations I've had with fellow musicians or filmmakers, just when you need someone, it's strengthened a lot of bonds. I've got people who I count as, really close friends, and, business is business and friends are friends. But I would, in a perfect world, I'd love to be able to combine the two and work with them. So that's in my own opinion. What I'd like to see is hopefully others as well having an appreciation, or just a greater understanding and appreciation of things like the freedom to leave, or just how valuable time is, and things like that. Because you can get so bogged down in being creative. Trust me, it happens to me as well. Like you get your next little project, and it's your baby, and all your thoughts and efforts and processes go into it, and then so many other things just kind of get left or
Yeah, you
pushed
just tunnel
aside
vision in on that, and you don't notice anything else.
Yeah, and then you let things slip. You don't contact a certain friend as much as you would, things like that, and it ends up all falling apart. So hopefully, if all of us, not just myself, can leave with a greater appreciation and understanding, then hopefully, because the human race is resilient. How many plagues have we survived? How many, atrocities and calamities and whatever you want to title it, have we pulled through and come together? So hopefully we can all do that again and take something and learn from it. So
yeah. Well, on that, like, what advice would you give others?
So one of the things that I've had to do, which has helped me greatly, is the big rocks theory. Are you familiar with that theory?
Don't think so, no.
It's probably not the correct title, but there's a video on YouTube. You can look it up. But this teacher, he gets a large aquarium, and he he's in front of his class, and he puts a lot of big rocks in the aquarium, and he asks, is this container full? And it's filled with all these massive rocks, and some kids say yes, some of them say no, you could probably fit some more in there. So he goes and he gets buckets of these like marbles and little pebbles, and then he pours it all over. And then he asks the same question, and then they all say yes. And then he goes, he gets sand, and he pours that all into it, and it fills up everything. Then he asks again, and everyone says yes. And then he goes and gets water, and he pours that in. And he says, what's the purpose of all this? And most people think that there's always room for more, but his response was, no, if you don't start with the big rocks, you'll never get them in. So if you can really isolate and be really brutally honest with yourself about what's really important to you, then, and assign those big rocks, give yourself a certain number of hours to work on them every week, you'll start seeing a massive improvement. So, for me, I had to decide between making actual money, which is, teaching and things like that, or actually sitting down and writing music. Which of these is more important to me? Do I want to be a teacher, or do I want to actually be a composer? Which am I going to spend more time on? Because I could teach 30 students a week and make, $3,000 to $5,000 a week if I really wanted to. But if I really want to compose and I want to get to major productions and all that, if I'm, spending 30 to 40 hours a week on teaching, that's a huge chunk of the week gone. So, if you can identify those big rocks and take a step back and be really brutally honest with yourself and go, okay, I need to give myself 40 hours a week on this, 20 hours a week on this, 30 hours a week on this. And for the levels that we are all aiming for, like the top level, not just, indie B grade films or anything below that, you have to treat it like a full-time job. If you're busy working a job at like Office Works or waitressing or teaching or anything for 30 hours a week, how are you going to find that time? Where else is that going to take? Is your leisure going to go away? Is your time with friends and your socializing, et cetera, et cetera? So, that would be my advice to most people, is sit down and make that schedule. What time do I get up in the morning? What am I doing in my first hour? What am I doing in my second hour? What am I doing in my third hour? And plan it out. Realize that some things have importance. I take a day off every week. Today is my day off. I don't do anything, but I try to hit 50 plus hours a week into music and sound engineering and all that, because that's what it takes to reach that far level. You look at Peter Jackson or Hans Zimmer or any of those guys who have done amazing productions, and if you were to ask them how many hours did they put in, I guarantee you it would have been more than, I made 3 movies in 2 years or something like that. They probably were going at it for 60 plus hours a week, I'd say. So
yeah, I definitely have to look into definitely look up YouTube for that video, because it sounds incredible. Like it sounds so simple, yet people still need to like be told that, or to realize that you do have to put all these hours in for something which for something that you really want to do. If it's your life's calling, if it's what you want your career to be, you do have to put the time into it. You can't just sort of just like drift along and hope to see what happens. You actually got to put the work into it.
Yeah, and the best thing about it is if you make that schedule, like it's not on at the moment, but the background of my computer monitor is like a double picture. One of them is the schedule, and the other is the saying "shit" or "get off the pot," which is literally intended to mean if you're wasting time, get off and let somebody else do it for you.
Okay.
So if you're trying to make a movie but you're doing nothing but wasting time, or you're trying to write a song and you're doing nothing, then you're wasting time.
Yeah.
So, but actually having that schedule in front of me is a massive boon, because then you can realize and really start to understand and appreciate just how many hours you put into, without realizing it, other things without intending to, which are probably most definitely robbing you of that goal that you were just speaking about. So by doing that in that process, that's the advice I would pass on.
Yeah. Wow. Probably with both your industries, both like film and music, do you feel that they can survive all this? And if they can, will it be at the same level that they were pre-COVID, or will it be a couple of years before we get back up there?
That's an interesting question. So to the first part, filming will definitely change. Music, people need the arts now more than ever. That's probably one of the best things that will come about this, is people will have a much greater appreciation for music, film, arts, all of it, because that's what they've needed to fill the empty void of isolation that so many of us are not used to. If you remember the fires that just recently cooked most of Australia, many of the musicians that I know of, I can't speak as much for the film side of it, but there were so many charity concerts put on and musicians just playing and saying, come have a good night out for free, hear my music. And that attitude hasn't disappeared because of this. Yeah, it's still there. Musicians are still going to go strong. But as to the second part, how will it change? Hopefully for the better, with everyone wanting more and with everyone hopefully appreciating what they've got more. Then yeah, I think we'll see a spike in the amount of being produced, because everyone will want to get back into it. Everyone will go at it with a drive and a passion. Now, whether what's being produced is good or not, that's up to others to decide.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we'll see a spike.
Throughout all of this, have you learned something different about society as a whole?
Have I learned something different?
Or do you see society in a different way through it?
I have the unique... I'm seeing society change. I have a unique perspective of it because I was isolating, as I said, before all of this happened. So I'm seeing the change happen. Where that change will go, I don't want to say. I think it will go for the better, but who knows what the future has in store. So major changes or any definitive answer to that question, I couldn't even begin to give you. So
yeah, it's definitely, everything's different. Like, we don't know what's happening one day to the next, and well, hopefully by the end of this week we'll at least know something about whether these restrictions will loosen up or not. But it's still always the wait and see, and then if things happen, what they'll be then, and whether like social gatherings can increase, or actually people can go out to see others. So it'll definitely be telling of the changes then. But what are you looking forward to the most once the restrictions are relaxed and we can actually then meet up with like our friends, families, and peers?
So one of the good things for me personally that's come out of this is you really get to understand who your friends, like your true friends, are. It's one thing to be polite to people and to hit them up when you need something and ask about their well-being. It's another thing for people who have been constantly checking up on you. You know, I've had people who just dropped off the face of the earth, and I don't know their circumstances. Like, I'm not judging. I'm not angry at anyone or anything. But some have dropped off the face of the earth. I've reached out and no real response, or very little response. They're probably dealing with a lot of stuff. Others have reached straight back out to me, or even without me reaching out, have tried to seek after my well-being. So there's that group of people who I now know, or have strengthened a massive bond of appreciation, because, you know, if somebody reaches out to you just for the sake of caring about you and thinking about you, like, I really appreciate that. So I want to get together with a lot of, you know, those friends and have just one hell of a night drinking. That's what I'm looking forward to the most.
I think a lot of people will be looking forward to just doing that as well.
Well, I've got a. I think we come under review under the 11th, and
Yeah.
my birthday is the 13th. So, you know, it's like
It could be fortuitous.
yeah, I'll just you know, send out a mass invite on Facebook. Every friend be like, so we've all been booked up. I'm having a birthday. There's your excuse. Here's a pub. Here's the time. I'll see you there. You know, just see what happens. I suppose it would be a oh God. But if I wake up in an alley on King Street, well, then we'll know it's been a good night. So
Definitely, yeah. It's always a good tell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, Mark, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for giving us an insight into your experience throughout all this.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. We have to look out for one another during this time.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully see you very soon once all these restrictions are relaxed.
Yep, definitely. So take care of yourself, man.
You too.